Hello, can you hear me? All right. I'm so glad to be here today. Glad you joined me. Marlena, I appreciate that laugh. That broke me out of my trance. For real. Something that's stuck in my head. Living rent free in my head. So I don't know if you ever on TikTok. But oh Jesus. Let me cut that out. Now see I'm looking at my own show, so all of a sudden it just came through. And it's delayed because I said a bunch of words before it came through. But the thing that's stuck in my head, man, TikTok, they might need to ban it because it is definitely changing mindsets, good, bad, and indifferent. But yo, I don't know if you on there, but they've been having that learn Chinese or get back with your ex. And that song that Chinese man keeps singing is stuck in my head. I just keep on saying, Woman cheat, so true in Shichan. Literally, that's it. So your eyeballs broke me out of that. Woman cheat, so true in Shichan. I guess I'm one of those people who would rather learn Chinese than get back with my ex because that shit lives rent free in my head, seriously. So if at some point I wind up stopping just to sing that song, please forgive me. Um, yeah, that's just kind of guy I am. So I might just woman cheat, so true and she chan chan. Well, I'm glad the mic is working this week, so I heard it myself, so I don't even have to worry about it. So this week, I think I'm gonna start putting a little more effort into getting some more live readings. I think I need to mix this up a little bit more, but this week we're gonna jibber jab. A couple of things I've been dealing with, and a couple of things I want to bring to you all attention as far as it relates to the healing process, because it may be something that you run into yourself, and it definitely is some tools that you will need to help you along this way, right? So, um, one of the things I wanted to be able to talk about tonight is the idea of awareness. And I want to put this idea of awareness into, I got my rhyme book right here, so don't be, I don't, I don't know why people call me at this time, so forgive me. Um, so it has to be somebody that don't know. But I want to say awareness and put some context on this idea of awareness for the sake of our conversations tonight. But awareness in the sense of seeking clarity, guidance, and or direction. Any of those type of things when it comes to awareness. And one of the main things that you want to, one of the main tools you want to make sure you sharpen is how you notice the little signs that you are actually on the right path. And for me, this is something that I'm trying to do something a little different. We all working together trying to build something new and grand and original for us as a soul food family. But you trying to make sure I take notice of the little signs that tell you on the right path, and I want you to do the same thing, because a lot of times when we're looking for clarity, guidance, or direction, we're looking for some major significant signs. But a lot of times it just comes like a little whisper, and it's a simple sign. And what we do with that simple sign is how we process that simple sign is what gives us the direction. So for me, I'm trying a bunch of new different things and trying to make sure I remain aware to the signs on if I'm on the right path or the wrong path. And one of the things I think I spoke to you all about it a little bit before, but one of the major things that I took as a sign that I'm on the right path. Generally, for me, the things that I take as a sign are simple things of goodness, simple things of success, little signs and stuff like that, or something. So for me, I remember I think I spoke to you all, but one good sign for me to let me know that I might be on the right path is for my actual professional job, what I do in the daytime. Um, See, yo, there has to be some delay, cause I know you typed that thing a minute ago, cause I just started talking to stop singing. But if you want me to hit you with that woman cheat, so true to shit chan chan. So yeah, I'm gonna keep practicing my Chinese because it ain't happening. And you right. I usually leave the singing for Thursday night because the book club people love my You'll Never Find. I always hit them with a song, but Tuesday nights I don't do no singing. So y'all be getting distracted by the people. So you gotta be in here. You want me to read to you? You might not just get to hear my voice, but I might get to hit you with a little tuny tune. But I can't sing, so don't even don't even expect anything. Oh Lord, Jesus Christ. All right, so no delay. But anyway, so one of the good things that has happened lately that I took it a sign that I'm on the right path is that uh my job we have two major programs a year, and we had to think of names for these programs, and literally it was the last day. They sent the emails like, hey, don't miss your opportunity to um suggest some names, and the leadership team voted on a blind vote, so they didn't know who wrote what. And I gave two examples last minute on that day, and they literally picked both of them. So I named the two major programs for my job, and then something that I shared with you all was something that was surprising to me. But that other week when we hit that 67,000, now that was randomly out the blue. You know what I mean? And for me, I feel like as we get a little more stable, as we get a little more shored up in this program, I think being able to reach that many people is going to be our norm. You know what I mean? Even though we may not do it every week, but I think that's a sign of things to come. You know what I mean? And I took that as a sign that I'm on the right path. And then not the last thing, but one thing that kind of threw me for a loop, and I kept on looking. But last week I got my first stars. Woohoo! So for a lot of people that might not be major, but I feel like this. I feel like I'm doing something right. That somebody thought that I was worthy of some stars, and to a lot of people, stars don't mean much. But it does cost to send stars. So somebody thought whatever I was doing is at least worth $1. And I don't know if I will ever see that dollar or if it's lost in hoopla land or whatever. I'm gonna assume I'm not gonna see that whole dollar because I know Facebook gonna have to get they cut regardless. But it's somewhere in the ethers. But that made my day. I was just looking around, you know what I mean? So people put their money in things that they believe in. So when people start sending me stars and stuff like that, I think that is a sign that I'm doing something to impact people. And this idea of impacting people will come up a little bit later again in our conversations, because I don't think we always realize the impact that we have on people. So, like for example, the person that sent those stars, they didn't know that would serve as one of the signs that I'm doing the right thing. They had no idea that that would be the impact it had on me, but it was. You know what I mean? So, something else I've been contemplating about as far as this awareness is a shift in a mindset. Let me make sure I catch up to your comments. I appreciate that. And I think that's something I like what you just said. And I think that's something that we should apply to each other, everybody in the group. You know what I mean? You are worthy, and I need you to believe it, and I need you to know it. That might be another one of our affirmations outside of I don't need your permission. I'm not looking for your approvals. You know what I mean? So yeah, you are worthy. You need to believe it, and you need to know. But it's funny because that kind of ties into the next thing, where it was somewhere along the line, it was some sort of shift in my mindset towards negative ideas, or for lack of better words, for better words, is contradictory ideas. Contradictory in the sense that I had somewhere along the line, I shifted thoughts of myself into areas that aren't really me. And I allowed these areas to become the definition of who I am. But I never really was those things. Those were things or tools I picked up along the way to navigate the waters, but I didn't realize how far that they were taking me out of who I am. So, for example, um, cuz I need you to know you are free to fly. See, listen, let me tell you something. I try to, once you create a safe space, people always begin to feel comfortable to tell you things about yourself. So if I leave a sign up on this wall for a month, somebody in my comments is gonna be like, "Hey, that sign's been up there a month." I was thinking about changing it today, actually, but I said, "Nah." I literally thought about it, and I had enough time to change it. I was like, "I'll do it next week," but maybe I add one of those things. See, don't mind me. I was looking at my tattoo because I actually do have a whole tattoo from here to here. I got a lot of tattoos, but my summer skin about to kick in, and you're not about to see none of these tattoos. So another time I'm sidetracked. But anyway, I was talking to my supervisor. Back to the shift in the mindset towards contradictory ideas of who we are as people. These ideas that actually are defense mechanisms, or I don't even want to say defense mechanisms because they have a lot of that has a lot of negative connotation to it, but they are tools that we've learned to navigate the waters, our society, navigate this life with minimum harm to our spirit and who we are as a person. You know what I mean? So we don different identities um to do that. So I remember talking with my supervisor when we were talking about the two big names, and I named the two big shows. And I remember telling her, I was like, "Yo," I was so excited because you should see me. I was embarrassing myself because when they started saying mine, I was like, "That sound like I wrote that." And then I was like, "Well, cool, I won one." I was excited, so I'm sitting there waiting for the next person, and they started talking again. And I was like, "Wait a minute, that sound like something I wrote again." And so I'm telling my supervisor, I'm like, "Yo, stuff like that never really happens to me." And ding, a bulb went off. Because once I got off that conversation, I began to start processing my life. This was another little sign for me to be able to pause and think about, is that actually true? You know what I mean? Because I think about it for the last couple of years. I tell people I don't gamble, I don't do stuff like that because stuff like winning in that sense doesn't happen to me. Or so that's the identity that I took on. You know what I mean? For some reason. And something that we keep talking about, I think, by taking on that identity of stuff like that doesn't happen to me. It was another example of how we normalize what's unique and special about us. I'm sure a couple of you all have won some things, but you still don't consider yourself a winner in that context, right? So I'm gonna soften it up a little bit more, clarify a little bit more as we go on about what I mean a winner in that context. So as I'm thinking it back, I'm thinking about some of the things that I have kind of won, right? So the first thing that came to my mind was like when I was in the fourth grade, they had this writing competition for the whole school, and I had time, so I wrote, and I never forget I wrote this story about Santa Claus and all it do, I'll never forget. My mama probably never should have let me see Saturday Night Live. I mean, the best of Eddie Murphy Saturday Night Live, because literally that thing gave me so many ideas. So they got this skit in there where Buck we got shot. You know what I mean? It was a crazy skit with Eddie Murphy and Buck we got shot. So in my little kid story, I done got Santa Claus shot. And this is crazy because it's a kid story, but it's comedic. So it's funny. And the teachers really didn't know what to do. So the school they picked somebody who did research, and then they picked me, who didn't do no research, just made up the whole story from stuff that I seen. I put that in. And then my other favorite character was Ernest. That dude, Ernest Goes to Camp, all that. I threw him in there too because they had this one scene, Ernest Family Album. One of the movies that drove me crazy as a kid. But he had this big old cousin that was probably on the spectrum. What we would know as a spectrum now, but when he was growing up, they definitely wasn't thinking about no spectrum. But they had this, they would eat spaghetti dudes like skinny, daddy, skinny. So I wrote both of them into my Christmas story about Santa Claus. And I won that contest. And up after that, I did stuff like I ran. I remember I was nervous to run for SGA, student government in high school, because I was like, nobody really knows me. I don't, you know what I mean? I went to a bunch of different schools. So by the time I got to my high school, I had already went to a different high school. So I'm using running for SGA as a way to get myself to be known by the nerds. You know what I mean? So I'm like, hey, I need my nerd friends. They gonna come in handy, or the intelligent people, or the people who are in my classes, for lack of better words. And then what got even crazier is I ran for prom king. We talked about this before, and I won prom king. And I remember when they sat up there and they announced the new prom king is Anthony Howell. I was like, I stood there and looked around like that. They ain't say my name. My date looking at me like they said you. My friends in the audience talk about Peanut. They said you, and I'm like, I'm just standing there looking like, congratulations, guy. But no, it was me. And then I went on to college, and I never forget one of the biggest things for me. One, and I think was that opportunity to be in Mosaic. 'Cause a lot of people was trying out for that. And when I got in Mosaic, it was hard to get in Mosaic. It was so hard to get in Mosaic that people who got mad that they couldn't get in Mosaic went and started their own, started a whole new troop, right? You know what I mean? So out of all the people, and there would be hundreds of kids out there trying out just to be a model for a school organization. And I did that. And then the one thing that I think I did that I feel like I actually won, which ties into this context of how I did think I was a winner, is I graduated homeless. But the thing about that kind of sticks into my mind is by the time I graduated was the impact that I had on people, because my department had a little ceremony, and teachers who weren't even professors, who weren't even my professors, they just knew the work that I had done in the school, cried when they talked about me. They just knew the work I had done, how much of my heart, how much, because once I dive into something, I'm 10 toes deep. I'm all the way in, even when it don't look like that. But I'm all the way in, for real, for real. And they recognize that as professionals. And thinking back on these things, it was more signs on how we as people take these things that are really abnormal and normalize them and limit our greatness and our value. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I had all these opportunities to show me that I'm valuable to people and show me that I'm valuable to the world. But somewhere along my mind, I just took that shit as normal or once in a lifetime event. And even though the pattern was keeping itself that it wasn't necessarily a once in a lifetime event, it was happening several times with me. Uh, um, I still was stuck into this idea that I necessarily stuff like that doesn't happen to me, and it does happen to me. Um, So back to this idea of being a winner. It was wild because this is a new concept for me because in the sense that I always thought I was a winner. But I always thought I was a winner in the sense that I'm able to accomplish goals and complete tasks. And the ironic thing that doesn't necessarily make you a winner. You know what I mean? What making you a winner is literally beating out competition. And the funny thing was when I was keeping myself in this little box of being a winner, I never really saw myself as a winner. But the thing about it is I'm actually a winner because I win stuff. Glad to have you. Um Thanks for joining us for the day. Oh shoot, I don't want to move my screen. I'm messing up. I appreciate you on YouTube. Hey, what's that? Pretty Black. I appreciate you. Hopefully you can join us every Tuesday. On Thursday we have book club where we were just talking about how I'll be singing and stuff like that. So if you just want somebody to read to you Thursdays for Thursdays, and if you ever feel confident enough, what we normally do on Tuesdays is energy readings, or we just talk about the healing process and things that we run across into the healing process. So I hope you enjoy. Um, so yeah, it was crazy because not allowing myself to see myself that I actually win things. I actually went around and I would tell people and thought I was unlucky and stuff like that, which is why I don't gamble. I'm like, I don't gamble. I don't do nothing. I don't gamble. I don't gamble. I ain't no need for me to be giving my money away. You know what I mean? So it was crazy about that. Do, do, do. Something else that's been going on as far as this week is kind of like really realizing, going through a stage of realize that, hey, I appreciate you. I ain't even see you down there, my Hefe. I ain't gonna say your real name. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. I mean, this is a side note because people come in and it be side notes, but you're not on Facebook. I got a friend that's my Hefe. I'm gonna say that's her name, and she calls me best friend all the time. Now I never forget. Literally, it was this girl. I was trying to talk to this girl, and my Hefe came on one of my posts and said the same thing she just said now. Hey, best friend, blessings to you. And that girl dumped me like a bad habit. That girl dumped me so fast. That next day she seen that comment. She's like, I don't have time for no men with female best friends. I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. She's like, I don't care. But you know, I said I'm not gonna stop being her friend because of that. But what I really do think that was more about a fear and an insecurity. I know, yeah. So she projected as though she think that we might have something else going on or some weirdness like that, but we don't. Um, all right, so we back on these realizations. Girl, I hope you ain't down here tripping because I know you will. You definitely saved me, but no lie, side note, too much TMI. So her name was Cherry. You know what I mean? So it's a bunch of cherries in this world, but her name was Cherry. And no lie, when she told me her name, the only thing that popped in my mind was that Project Pat. So you're right, you did save me. Cause I was still in that mindset where these red flags that show up ain't red flags. But the only thing that popped in my mind that why she wanna call herself a fruit. When you talk about that girl named Kiwi. Why she wanna call herself a fruit? I don't know. I don't know. But side note, back on to realization. I appreciate you stopping through. You know it's all love. We got years in this game, and I'm proud of the work you're doing as well. So, you know what I mean? Exactly. Why she won't call herself a fruit. No, listen, I am a Project Pat fan, so forgive me. I get to talk about Project Pat. I'm gonna forget that woman cheats some Julian shit shan shan. So why she wanna call herself a fruit? All right. So You got me hot in here, girl. You can't come on every week because you got me side no tripping. Nah, I appreciate you as always. You definitely can come on every week. Yeah, if you feeling froggy, girl, get on this show and let me read your energy. You doing some work. That'll be the best. Mike G, love you, bro. I appreciate you stopping through for a second. You know what I mean? Me and my man Mike G got basically the dang near same their birthday. So next year we're gonna have us a celebration. See, I done put it out there, bro. We having a party next year for real, for real. So y'all be ready for that. It ain't gonna be till February, so y'all got about a whole year to wait for that. But anyway, but the realizations, and it's more of that sense of awareness as well ties into that. You know it, family. It's on, and I I don't know about Playboy because yeah, can't be no player with no 304s. You feel me? Oh my God. Yeah, y'all got me side though. I know I'm going not wind up talking about everything I wanted to talk about, but we always got next week, so we'll pick up where we left off. But back on the realizations, one of the main things I want you to think about as far as realization is the recognizing. This ties into the awareness because awareness and this realizations, but recognizing when there's a need for a course correction or change of direction. You know what I mean? Recognizing where you need to adjust. So, and it was funny because I talked to y'all a little bit about it with icing. Well, icing got mad at me about the icing on the cake. But something in our conversations that came up a bunch, and I even mentioned it to y'all, it was this idea of used to, used to, used to, used to. I'm used to this. I'm used to that. I'm used to this. I'm used to that. And she used that word used to so much, it was driving me crazy. But one thing I want you to think about is the repeated used to, for the most part to me, became a sign. Like, why the hell do I keep hearing this used to? And I started thinking about what I'm used to. Because for the most part, used to is just the patterns we are familiar with that keep us or enable us from growing and changing. You know what I mean? So as much we may profess used tos don't always have the benefit. They don't allow room for growth and change. So for me, I had to start thinking about what am I used to? Because that's the only reason why I can think of why this used to idea kept coming up. Because I don't, if you're talking to me or we trying to do anything, I don't care what you used to. You know what I mean? Because what you used to has nothing to do with me. I need you to learn who I am and I learn who you are. I don't care what you used to. You know what I mean? But it had me thinking about what am I used to? And used to sometimes as an individual, it does show what you're gonna pick and how you're gonna pick. So one thing that I realized that I was used to, which is ironic, it was as ironic is hard women, right? And it's funny because I've seen myself as hard, and this is one of those ideas where relationships become reflective. And when I say hard women, I mean emotionally hard. Let me say it like this. Some people would describe these women the same thing that I call hard. Some people will describe as strength. You know what I mean? But the most thing that I was used to is dating hard women, dating who have donned on women who have donned this personality or these tools that allow them to help navigate the waters of their lives that required strength and resilience, right? And as you know, I was just thinking about you. You late to the party. That's why I was just thinking about you, but I figured you might have had some things going on. Because I know you do have a life outside of the show. So I'll give you a pass this week. You can enjoy your own life. But next week, I'm going to need you to be on time. No, I'm just joking. So thinking about, so when I think about being used to hard women, because how I go forward. And in the idea of dating hard women, I really, what that meant for me is I'm used to women I had to actually handle. And in a supervisory sense or a leadership sense, having to handle people is adds a level of stress or a level of it just adds a new energy dynamic that is not conducive to the growth. It literally slows down the progress having to be handled in the sense that I have to take extra steps or become, in a lack of better words, a sense of disconnected to push that person forward. You know what I mean? And in the sense that, for example, um, like giving direction, and it's gonna come up later because I want to talk about how difficult it is to follow a good leader. So I guess I won't go that deep into it now. But um, as far as giving them direction, as far as getting trust, as far as anything, you just have to handle them instead of it's one of those people with the mindset that trust is earned and all these things, everything is earned. Whether it's trust, respect, everything is earned. And I'm one of those people that believe that everything is given and it can be lost. You know what I mean? Because we're not in a position, because when you put yourself in a position to judge that everything is earned, that's as though you think your judgment is infallible. And as we're going through this healing process, a lot of our judgment is based on trauma. So we don't want to put ourselves in a position of judging. Okay, I appreciate it. And you ain't really had to put all your business out on the street, but I appreciate you had a phone call. I guess you did since I called you out in front of everybody, but I apologize. This is my people, man. I got love for 'em. All love. Um, the other thing about dating hard women is the idea that it winds up becoming a competition in the sense that, you know, once people become leaders, it's hard for them to or have some sense of control. It's hard for them to take direction and anything. And you get this dynamic sometimes where people won't do it just because you told them to do it. And you would think that with adults that behavior goes away, but it does not. And this the God's honest truth. I think adults are worse at that than children because adults have more experience and feel more entitled to what they think is right. You know what I mean? So if you start telling them something to do, which leaders do, they tell you what to do, they can't always ask you, then you wind up getting a sense of resistance. And this is what I'm used to. So everything in my relationships have been battles because I was used to strong and hard women. Um, and then that's the realization. It was wow, I didn't even talk about that. Yes. So when I'm thinking about what I'm used to, I want to think about where I want to go in this idea of realizations. And to get to where I want to go, I realize that I'm gonna have to be softer to get the dynamics that I want from relationship and or life. And it's wild because what gave me a perspective about the hard women and the soft women is actually thinking about my past. And I think about this one woman I dated, and it would be crazy because I remember me having a problem in the relationship. And I came to her and had the conversation. And it was wild because she sat there and she listened and she understood. And it was wild because what wound up happening is as I'm talking to her, she started crying. Dead serious, just sitting there crying. And you would think it was because I'm talking mean to her, I'm talking hard to her, but I'm not. She started crying because of the disappointment I had, or how I felt that what she did hurt her feeling, hurt my feelings, and that was wild because normally in those type of situations, um, people try to explain their way out of it. You know what I mean? Like, well, I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to do that. But they never put themselves in a position to be vulnerable enough to know that what they did to you hurt them by doing because it hurt you. You know what I mean? And it was wild. So that gave me an example of a softer relationship And then I also had to think about her earlier, and I told her, you know what I mean, because I really ain't hard. She was like, "Shit, you hard," and I mean, I'm softer. If you knew me at 18 than you do now, well, how am I softer? And I talked about it. One of the ways that I've gotten a little more gentler or softer is because of 4 years. So when I became that pre-K teacher, I would try to talk to them with my stern voice. And you know you're not yelling at them or anything like that because they little kids. My voice, like I'm loud, period. So if I decide to use my stern voice, it just sounds bad. I mean, it sounds threatening for a lack of better words. And I get in there with them little 4 year olds and just asking them to sit down in my stern voice, and they just start looking at me and start blinking and then start crying. And I want to communicate in a way with people where they don't feel the need to cry unless I've overwhelmed them with joyous feelings. You know what I mean? Just simple communication. I want to get an idea across. So children help me with that first level of doing it. And now, I, just thinking about the next chapters of my life, I have to decide who I want to be and where I want to go next, which we'll talk about a little bit. And it's funny because for me to decide who I want to be, I also have to think of you got to have examples and models of people or things that reflect where you want to go. So you might take a little piece here, and you might take a little piece from there. You might take a little piece from everywhere, but you definitely need examples. I'm a visual learner, and then I'm a tactile learner. I got to touch stuff. I'm hands on. I'm experienced. I got all this gray hair because I learned everything through experience. But that's just who I am. And that is who I've always been. A consistent thing about me. I've been an experienced person. Um, so something else I want to kind of talk about as it relates to changing and awareness and just kind of, honestly, it's just kind of a topic I just wanted to discuss with you all for a little bit. And I don't think it gets enough conversations. Then we'll wrap it up with something else. Hey, Sherry, somebody said something about you today, Sherry, and I can't even remember. I think it might have been Tater Tot, who might be on this show. I told her to start talking to you in the comments because she be watching, but she don't comment. But I think it might have been Tater Tot that said something about you today. I told her to start stalking you on TikTok or something because she thinks she's too good to call to follow anybody. But thanks for joining us, Sherry. I hope you had a good weekend too. But something I want to talk about that we don't really talk about, because we act like it's just going to happen. It's just going to be a thing that happens. But I do really want to discuss the. You know what? Scratch. I'm gonna save that for last. So yeah. So in thinking about how I want to be softer and the dynamics that I want in a relationship, I have to start thinking about the next chapters of my life. And it was funny because I was sitting around just I've been having some okay. Well, we gotta do better than okay. We'll work on that though. Now I thought never mind, I ain't finna put all your business out in the street. But I was sitting around thinking about, because like I'm almost creating this clean slate in the sense of my life as far as I'm doing the healing, so I'm getting rid of the trauma. I'm conscious of energy, so I'm getting rid of negative energy. I'm loving on myself more, a whole bunch of things. So I'm curious about what the next chapter of my life, the next chapters of my life is going to look like. Because I'm sure it'll be a couple more chapters after this next one. But it was funny because this ties into those little signs that show you on the right path. Because literally, as I'm thinking, I'm like, I wonder what the next chapter of my life would look at. And I looked at my phone, boom. Later, I look at her horoscopes all the time. She did a horoscope on Pisces. Guess what? This is going to be what the next chapter of your life looks like. I was like, look at God. Like, man, listen. You ask them questions, then them answers come immediately. But the wild thing is, It gave me a lot of good ideas as far as continue to work hard on what we doing, keep building whatever we're doing. Um, I'm doing the right thing as far as clearing out space. Okay, that's what I thought. Black food truck thing in Charleston. How was that? I was about to put too much information out there, but I don't need y'all to know who my clients be. But I'm gonna be in Charleston sometime this summer, and I hadn't been to Charleston, which is funny. Last time I went to Charleston, I saw Mothman, so I hadn't been to Charleston since probably 2014, and we saw the Mothman. So I'm looking forward to going back to Charleston. I definitely know Charleston has some very interesting energies and vibes down there. So you can see some stuff to make you question your sanity in Charleston. For real, for real. So what? I know you had fun at least. Well, you said it was okay, but I know for you, okay is it was a little bit fun. You could have had more fun. So anyway, what I'm thinking about, I said I'm wondering, and boom, the horoscope came, and that's another example of those little signs that let you know. Because I asked for something, I be careful about what I say and what I ask for, because that manifestation be coming quick now. And then I really had to ask myself, who do I want to be in this next chapter in my life? And that was a tough question. You know what I mean? So I think for us, that's going to be another one of those homework questions that add to what our rich life and our love life. And who do we want? Because that's the truth about it is, if we want to design a rich life and a love life, we have to design a person who gets those things, right? So I'm trying to figure out, who do I need to be to achieve these next set of goals for the next chapters of my life? And that was a tough question, because I don't quite know who I need to be. So that's the one I'm going to have to ask for support. Like, I don't know who I need to be. So that's something that I'm going to have to think about, and I want you to think about. Who do you need to be to get to the goals that you want to achieve in this next section of your life? And then I had to ask myself, is it easier to think about what I don't want? Sherry, I'm sorry. Is it easier to think about what I don't want? Sherry made me laugh because she said in Charleston she saw a lot of ASS and stomach. Now listen, I just seen a post the other day. This girl talking about she gonna have her big stomach out all summer. So listen, I'm a man. I stay away from butt out and stomach out. I don't comment on none of that stuff. I think that's a woman's area. Well, if women have a problem with it, y'all go ahead, because I'm sure women have some idea on what men think about butts out and stomach out. For real. So I just stay in my lane, you know what I mean? Because I'm sure some of it was doctor's booty, and some of these stomachs need to be tucked in. But yeah, Keisha, Charleston is very mystical. And it is, in the sense that it definitely has a long history, and that energy is thick down there. You know what I mean? From that slavery energy to, you can tell somebody down there was doing witchcraft. Like, you could see all that. Whatever type of religion, whether it be unorthodox or orthodox religions, you get that vibe and energy in Charleston. That ain't the only place. You get that in New Orleans too. In New Orleans, New Orleans got more ghost vibe than Charleston. Um, so, and then trying to figure out who do I have to be, I ask myself, is it easier to think about who I don't want to be? And when I was like, well, who don't I want to be? Something immediately popped in my head. And I can say for sure this ain't the only thing I don't want to be, but I know for a 100% fact, this is one thing I don't want to be. And I would think that you all don't want to be as well. And that is what I call as particip- participatory victim. Participatory victim. in the sense that a lot of times people find themselves in these situations where they were a victim, right? And the thing about that is, and I talk to my friends like that. We talked about that girl Tessa. She told her story as she was a victim, but she was no victim. She was the participatory victim in the sense that her decisions and her choices or my decisions and my choices put me in situations where I can be victimized or be seen as a victim or made myself a victim. So the one thing I know I don't want, and I'm sure you all don't want for yourself, is to be participatory victims. You don't want your choices and decisions to have you in situations where you can be victimized. You know what I mean? You want to be valued, you want to be appreciated, you want to be uplifted. So we may dig a little bit more deeper into that next week. But that was my intention to get a homework, and I was gonna wrap up with that. But I think I want to wrap up with this tip. So we're gonna talk about this. Um, we always talk about good leaders, and I wanted to take a little time. Well, I ain't really want to take a time at all to discuss what good leaders is, because that's something that you can find a bunch of information, the qualities of a good leader, right? But the thing that we really don't talk about, and it's funny because we even talk about leadership in the sense that if you meet a good leader, it's just going to be natural and easy for you to follow them. But the thing we don't talk about is how difficult it actually is to follow a good leader. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of times when a good leader comes into your life, your first instinct is to run. And you don't initially think that they're a good leader because of what they do. So, for example, a good leader is hard to follow because they are challenging. They are extremely challenging. And they have a tendency to make you feel somewhat unintelligent, challenging and unintelligent in the sense that they're going to stretch your boundaries. They're going to ask you to do things you've never done before. They're going to ask you to do things you thought you couldn't do, but they think you can. So they're going to push you in that direction. And all this is a challenge. Imagine someone coming to you and telling you, I think you could do this, and you think you can't. And they keep telling you, I think you can, and you got to. You know what I mean? It's easy for you to go home and be like, I'm not doing that, or wanting to run from that situation, finding a place that doesn't challenge you like that. But a good leader is going to challenge all of your boundaries, and it is hard to follow them because of how challenging they are. Then that unintelligent thing. Good leaders have a tendency to make you question if you're smart, in the sense that they'll come in and everything that you've used to navigate the waters up until the point where you met this good leader has been beneficial for you, right? They'll come in and be like, well, you don't need none of that anymore. And then try to give you whole new tools, which takes you out that space of familiarity and that space of comfort, which challenge you even more. They turn things on top of their head, on this head. And if you pause and you think about anybody you've had in your life that you would consider a good leader, think about all the things they did to you that could have negative connotations, like push you, challenge you. Not sometimes they don't hit you. And all this is the wild thing about it is because with a good leader, sometimes you have to follow them. You don't even have a clear visual of the vision. You don't even know where they're going. And sometimes good leaders can't give that to you because it's an abstract idea. I have it here and I can't put it into words. I just know you need to do this to get us here so we can get to this idea. And it's a lot of times where I tell people, like even in leadership, I tell you, like sometimes you just got to do the work. The vision becomes clearer to you when you do the work. You know what I mean? And I think about all the times that I've been in leadership, the people who have been most successful in my leadership are not those people who felt like I had to earn anything from them. It's the people who trusted themselves enough and trusted their intuition enough to take that chance. So in the another way, a good leader is hard to follow is because they will make you question if you really do trust yourself, if you really do believe in yourself, if you really do trust your intuition and your guidance, if you are in a safe emotional space, safe energy place space, because that is going to be required of you in those spaces. So, you know what I mean? I say all this to say because as we're doing healing and we're talking about our awareness and realizations, we're going to have people and energies that come in and out of our lives, and they're going to do these things, challenge us, push our boundaries, all of those things, and it'd be our natural inclination to run from those things because those are the things that we learned that we tell you this is difficult. It shouldn't have to be like that. So if you are out here dating and you find a person that is a good leader, they're going to do all these things. Whatever they're going to stretch you, they're going to challenge you, it's going to be difficult to follow them, especially if you don't trust yourself. But I do want to talk about that because I do think it's one of those things that get overlooked, and we just make it seem like it'll be an easy task. But I honestly think that following sometimes is a lot more difficult than leading. You know what I mean? Leading has more responsibility and more accountability, but following has a level of difficulty that leadership does not have. You know what I mean? So I do want to talk to you about that. So it ties into our awareness and realizations. So we have to know if we are one of those people who would be challenged or would be deterred from good leadership because it reflects and creates emotions that we felt when we weren't valued or when we were under bad leadership. And it's funny because I did have one more thing I want to talk to y'all about, but the hour's almost up, so we're gonna wrap it up anyway. But something I want you to think about is something I was thinking about is I'm in thinking about my emotional triggers in the sense that triggers that are tied to addictions or vices. Now I don't want to say addictions, but I'll say vices. You know what I mean? And what type of things, what type of emotions trigger you to seek vices, right? So, but we'll leave that for next week. Oh, excuse me. Oh man, got a lot of air. So that's about our hour. We try to take the little good hour. I appreciate the new people for joining in. I appreciate the conversation for the family that came through, and I love y'all regulars. I appreciate you. You make me feel like I'm doing something good, and I hope that I give you something as well. You know what I mean? So, with this being Tuesday, I hope to see you Thursday for book club. And someday we're gonna end this long book that's all over the place. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I got other people like, hey, is that book ever gonna end? So at some point we're gonna finish up this book. I doubt it'll be this week though, but come for Thursday night book club. Enjoy us. Let me just read a little bit to you. Or welcome back to Tuesday. And we'll have you Tuesday. Sherry, I appreciate you. Sherry said I'm doing amazing. But Sherry also know something to be a good leader. You have to also be a good modeler. So as much as I say you gotta be a good follower, I have to model the behaviors that I want the family to have. So if it's a sense of vulnerability, like we talked about, I ask y'all to be vulnerable. I gotta be vulnerable too. You know what I mean? I ask y'all to be thought provoking and think, I got to do that stuff too. So that's why a lot of these conversations come from the perspective of I, but it's not really a I. It's an I, a universal I, is an I, you, and me. You know what I'm saying? So we together. So we are doing amazing. Um, because since September, over the last 6, 7, 8, I don't lost track of how many months, we've all changed a little bit. And I'm thankful that I have you all to do this with. And I'm thankful we are together. And I'm thankful that we are creating something that we can be happy about. So, we want to make sure we live in that space of gratitude. So I appreciate you saying I'm doing amazing. And Liberty, I appreciate you saying you appreciate the work that I'm doing. But I also return that to you all because I knew both of you all and a lot of y'all 6 months ago it started this show, and you look back, none of us are the same in just that short period of time. So I thank you for sharing with me, being vulnerable, doing all those things, and you know, we'll do it again next week, right? All right. So I think I'm gonna make a post too to yeah, I want to start getting some more live readings. Again, we got a little bit away from that, but I won't get back on that. But I appreciate you all, and I'll catch you next week, right? Have a good week, people.